Hey guys, it's Elon from Inside Fighting, and I'm here with OKIMAKHAN George. And we're in for a big treat today because I just did a class here for Okichita, and this is one of the most unique martial arts I've ever trained. We're gonna jump right in, it's gonna be awesome.
Pow, pow. Inside fighting, yeah. Dangerous martial arts. Pow, pow. Ooh, ah.
As you guys know, I've suffered from autoimmune disease. I've suffered from severe injuries. I was told I'd never walk again. That's what led me and my buddy on this journey to create a wonderful functional collagen for men, for athletes. If you're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you're running, if you're into any martial art, it's crazy to not be using this. It really helps support your bones, your joints, and your connective tissue. I always explain that what's important is the amino acid profile, which you need large amounts of glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. And you need a low molecular weight so your body can use it. I've become an expert at this stuff. It's made a tremendous difference in my own body, and it's made a tremendous difference for every single person who's using it now. Nomanlabs.com is the company. It's called Noman, like K-N-O-W, knowing man. So nomanlabs.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much.
Okichita comes from a Plains Cree word known as Okichitaw, of worthy men. These were individuals within the community that had responsibilities of protecting the camp, going on war sorties and things of that nature, but their primary goal was peacekeepers. So we use the term OKIMAKHAN, those who watch over us. They were individuals that were identified in the community that were very specialized, very skilled. They were obviously very good hunters, and individuals that could protect, but also could actually, build camps quickly, hunt buffalo effectively. So the territory that I'm from is known as Treaty 1 territory. So I'm from an area of Long Plains, Manitoba, First Nations community through the Red River Valley in the Assiniboine. So what I'm teaching here is in a territory, if we look at the map nowadays, would be southern Manitoba, southern Saskatchewan, a little bit of Alberta, down into Montana, across through the Dakotas, mostly the North Dakota, and then back into Manitoba. So being Northern Plains descent, this system is based on the hand-to-hand tactics, the horse culture, a lot of the traditional applications of Indigenous life in the plains.
I'm a huge fan of long-range weapons.
Oh, yes.
You showed some really cool stuff with this today.
Well, the lance was, in Cree we call this chukakwan, which means long stick or long-bladed stick. What's unique in the plains, different than any other Indigenous territory, say far to the west, say where you get to the Haida the northwest or the north coast or the northwest coast, and then the east coast where you're dealing with the Mi'kmaq and some of the other nations in that territory. Because it was a horse culture, some of these lances would go up to 14, 16 feet long. They were very long because we did it on horseback. So, I'm a tall fella, so like I'm 6'4", so being on a horse that's around 5 feet tall and then you have a 14-foot lance, you got some pretty extensive reach there at high speed. So the two differences is that the long lance was more for hunting applications. It could be used for coup. What we use in Cree, we call that pakama, to strike without killing. And then the other application is the battle lance, which is a shorter lance, which is about your height. So when you're looking at a lance this way, you'd always be having a lance. The shaft would be pretty close to your height, and the blade would just be slightly above your head. And the reason for that is that the warriors had a tendency to be almost around the same height, depending what tribal community they were from. So you could have someone like the Cree, which were fairly tall. Blackfoot were tall as well. The Assiniboine were a little thicker guys. And then the Sioux were a little bit shorter, so they had different lance heights for those applications. The reason for it, no different than the war shield, it was designed in such a way that if I dropped it, I knew how to use it because it was the same type of thing. Mm-hmm. No different than a special forces unit drops, an AR-15, and the guy goes, I pick it up, I know exactly how this thing loads and arms. It's the same thing as our weaponry. So it's just a historical concept, is that I could pick up that war club, I could pick up that lance, I could jump on the horse. They're all trained the same way within my tribal application. So the lance is your long distance weapon. So what I have in front of you here is, this is a Northern Plains medicine wheel. The difference that you see right away is the blue. The blue is a reflection of the west and what we call the water country. So about 100,000 lakes in Manitoba, for example. So the Cree have a different version of the medicine wheel. Most of the time in the unity wheel, you'll see this is black. But basically they reflect the directions. So in Okichita, we would move from the eastern doorway to the southern doorway to the northern doorway, and then we finish out to the west. So the concept of Okichita is, this is about birth, challenge and difficulty, learning and creativity, and extensive knowledge, basically when you're walking through this. So if we were to talk about Okichita as far as combat, identify your challenge, embrace with courage, finish out as soon as possible, move to your next challenge. And all this is done in seconds. So if you have multiple adversaries, you're actually executing this concept over and over and over again to achieve your objective. So identify, challenge, embrace, finish out. The Assiniboine fighters were notorious for fighting with the lance, but also for never giving ground. So one of the ways that we honor that history is showing the ground impalement. The breechcloth for the Assiniboine was quite a bit longer, so our breechcloth for the Cree were in this position, but the breechcloth would hang down very low for the Assiniboine, and what they would do is that if all was lost and they had no choice but to fight to the end, they would basically impale themselves to the ground to prevent retreat, to indicate to their adversaries that they're not going anywhere. And so we honor that history by doing this particular movement. So it's a step forward to show your lance. Hand is rotated in this position, rotate the lance around, then we bring the lance behind us and we impale it. So this tactic obviously is done on the ground because of the earth. We actually stick the lance in there. The first movement is a crouch down, and we use the lance, or we use the leg to support the lance on a short strike. So crouch right down, and then turn the lance onto your body, and you use your quadricep to support it. First lance is low, next extension, and then we start creeping up, that one, and then we step to throw in. Okay? Now this next movement basically is a very far extension, but the idea is to be able to cut the legs or the ankles of your adversary that's on your right. So as you step forward, you're going to grab the lance in this position, cut, and then rotate and down. Okay? And there's your cut. Now when you get through, we'll shuffle back here. The Assiniboine were notorious for swinging this. So what they would do is, if this was in your adversary, they would step through and push their arm through to be able to use their shoulders to pry the weapon out of the adversary to swing it around and cut someone else. So as we step forward, through, and then swing, cross, okay? So once you're in that position, rotate, and now this is to reflect a throw, okay? So we're not gonna throw it, but this is how we would throw. We're gonna drop and go back to that same position so we're on our left side, okay? So drop, yeah, 1, 2, 3, both hands, and then 4, all the way in, okay? Now, the unique one on this is, you know how we went into shovel? Mm-hmm. We actually go reverse now, because the first one was down. This one is straight up in the upper body area or the face, and you do a reverse turn. So now you're holding that. Now remember, this is hornbeam. It's pretty heavy, right? Okay, so we're spinning around backwards. Head goes underneath. And then you flip the lance up, shuffle back with this leg, make sure that your lance is flat. So then we cut across the torso as we step back. That position, right? Good, right all the way through.
Yep.
Yeah, put it behind your back. This is where you'd be standing with your lance to grab it with this position. And then flick that sand or that earth up into their face and come in with a chop. Just like that, okay? Nice. And we don't retreat here. We want to take that ground back, so we step forward. Put that lance in there. Yep. Good. Awesome.
Thank you. What I like about it is it's extremely intuitive, it's extremely quick to learn, and it's all forward pressure. Like you said, you never retreat space. Even from the start, you're staying, this is where I am, this is where I'm standing my ground,
yes.
And I'm only going to take. I'm never going back.
Yeah.
I'm only going to take. That's a consistent theme in everything.
And I also think the one unique side of it too is we train also to experience, we train because we know we're going to experience fatigue or injury. So the idea of getting underneath and using the shoulders to snap around. I don't have the strength right now because I've been hurt. I hurt on my arm, or I got to whip the lance around. I'm trying to use momentum and certain types of snapping techniques to be able to execute an attack versus I'm totally fatigued right now, or I don't have the strength to deal with it, or to get away with it faster. So the flicking and the chopping and the smashing is just very big motor skills, but the idea is that you can get power from it, right? You're not going for, you're looking at the body, you're not looking at taking the ear off,
yeah.
Right? So in Cree, we call this Indigenous, which is known as the tomahawk bladed stick. A lot of history on the tomahawk in Turtle Island, the northern plains. The unique thing though with our hawks in the plains is that they were long, the handles were long. So we would use them on horseback, on foot. The frontier cut was quite thin and unique. The head was a little bit lighter, but the handle length was sufficient. So a lot of handle lengths in the Plains were anywhere between, say, 19.5 to 33, 36 inches long. Some of them were at that length because they were used on horseback, and as you would run through a certain area, or if you're engaging another war party and you caught individuals on foot, you would go racing by them with your horse and you'd take them out that way. So the hocks were much longer. The shorter hocks you wouldn't be able to reach. You could, but you'd be leaning way over on the horse. Now, when it comes to Okichita and it comes to tomahawk fighting, there's a lot of misconception about tomahawk fighting, thinking that it's all about the blade. The blade is important, but what's really, really important about the tomahawk is the handle length. And we find that, you know, not necessarily the longer the handle is, but as long as the handle is anywhere between 19 inches and longer, it's an effective fighting instrument. Is it effective to keep it in your backpack at that length? Sometimes it's not, but historically we had everything on our horses, or we carried everything on a bundle roll, things like that, so we didn't care about the length. The idea of any type of weapon tactic is that you'll only hit your enemy once, twice, possibly three on a finish out when you're passing, but it's only one or two. So we actually teach up to 20 for both weapons. The gunstock's a little bit more, but all those movements would never be done in a standing position. You're just understanding that if you're on one knee, or you're standing a certain way, or the body is on one side of you or the other, or they're above you, you would use different types of striking. And then also what they're attacking with say if it's a lance or something. So, but we'll do some techniques together. But you know what? I'll use the rubber one for a change. Why don't you use the real one?
Okay.
Just don't, it's not sharp, but if it hits you, you know.
Yeah.
It'll do something.
Enough.
So you notice the handle length. Again, you got a little bit of length there, and all of a sudden that weight is a little bit heavier at the top, and it's fantastic for trapping. And the sinking capability. So the difference with a Norse blade, you know, you have that real big wide bite. The frontier cut is much shorter and super fast. So when you're swinging it, it's very, very effective. Yeah. So again, we always want to meet steel or wood, you know, with flesh. We never want to actually have our bodies forward. So this weapon will always be there. So the first ones that you think of is your X right off the bat. So striking the side 1 and then 2, and then the reverse cut, okay, is where we're basically cutting across like this. So the idea is to use the following edge to open the lower part of the body. So that cut is across that way when you move.
Let me just point this out. It's not changing angle.
That's right.
What you're doing, which is so interesting, is you're keeping the sharp ridge and opening it up to slice the stomach.
Yes.
So it's such a sneaky angle.
Yeah, and also it's not just necessarily the slicing. So when you're moving the hawk across this way, you could be punching another weapon out of the way, and you can come in with a cut afterwards. So there's all that type of thing with the eye as well, because this blunting is very, very powerful on the eye. So again, 1, 2, and then reverse cut 3, then we come back 4, then we turn it 5, 6, we come upstairs, 7, 8, across the neck, 9, 10, turn, 11, 12. Now we do the chops. So we're gonna hit the head first, head on the other side, then the body or the arm, we don't care, body or the arm, go to the groin or the leg, and then we chamber back up, rotate, sink it again, lift it up, tear it, and then push forward, right? That pushing forward is always, so you'll notice that we get you to keep that hand up because we always want to keep it up high. A couple of reasons for that. One, to protect the throat, the eyes, the heart, but the other reason is that it takes me longer if you go to swing and I have to do this.
Of course.
Versus me here going like this.
Just right away there.
Yeah, that's the difference. So we do a lot of grabbing in Okichita as well. So again, the trapping, like with this weapon, so if I'm swinging towards you.
Should I take a trainer?
No, you can use that one. Yeah, so if he's swinging and I swing at your head, you trap, you can just pull that up. And you come in with that attack or a lance.
Yeah, boom, right in.
Joust me right back. It's very, very effective.
That's how much this hooks.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, and that's what the length is so important, because if it was short, I might catch myself.
Yeah.
But as you swing, this is just such a natural response. Boom, I'm right here. I just meet you with it. And you even showed me how you could just open it up and then do that same slice across.
Yeah. And also the legs, right? So anything that requires, like we don't, you know, even when you're hammering, who hammers like this? You know, you're actually chopping wood like this, or you're chopping wood like this. So the legs open up. So when you go to clear that weapon, and if you clear me high and go low, so if I come to your head, you clear high and go low, you go and leave it low, just leave it low and turn that hawk around and hit that leg and just rip it right open. Like there's, you know, and this is what my dad always taught me, was that he says, George, soft, soft, hard, hard, soft, soft, hard, hard, soft, soft, hard, hard. And that's all you have to remember. 6 soft points.
Yeah, hit soft.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, again, this is one of my, and, okay, so something I've noticed about Okichitaw with every weapon, not scared of weight, and it's actually, I think, perceived as something beneficial because of momentum.
Yes.
Everything here, like you had told me previously, relies on gross motor skills that can be performed even under fatigue because the weapon is kind of leading the way, it's carrying itself. So everything I'm doing, even if I was tired here and I'm resting it on my shoulder, I feel like I could just throw it. If my arm is hurt, I could just throw it. And I don't even have to turn it here. I could just swing my body like this. It's like, these are movements I'm doing from awkward positions with no...
And even if, like you said, if you're injured.
Yes, that's the whole, that's what I'm trying to emulate. But
so when we're teaching this, we're teaching it, from different elevated points, unstable ground, learning how to swing it on your knees, one knee up, try swinging this in the water. You can swing it in the water, right? Lance, you can't swing in the water too well, but a tomahawk, you can swing that anywhere, right? So it's again, it's really effective. And again, carrying. Remember, I was showing you earlier is that you're in the bush and you're running with that, right? So you're running with that weapon. In the movies they show the guy running like this. Well, you're going to hook it in the tree and you're going to lose the damn thing. So we teach you to run like this, and you basically impale it, and then it's to your combat zone, right? Exactly. You're right there.
That's such a subtle thing that, like, unless you're actually in the environment, you would never train for and never think about that. When you have your tomahawk and you're running through whatever environment you're in, so like you pull it, you got it, you're gonna run like this. And you even showed, because like, number one, it's just uncomfortable to do, so it'll slow me down, but also I'm putting myself in harm's way. But from here, it just feels like it's just so comfortable, I can move my body anywhere, no harm like potential to myself. And when I'm ready, like you just said, you just load it and it's ready to go.
Well, a lot of times when you went to two hands, you would carry it in your weaker hand, okay, and you would slide it down, okay? So when you slide it down, now you got to use a lot of power because you're going to have to smash a guy or hit a horse. We struck horses back in the day. So now you're running up to a horse and you have to nail it in the side of the face to get it down so you can take out that guy. So a little chop with your one hand ain't going to do it too well. You're running with full momentum. It's in your left hand. You go to impale yourself, right? Just like that, slide in there and take your right hand on the top, and then all of a sudden you got all that power and you just drive it right in. So again, it's one of those things where you keep your strong hand free and you keep your carry hand on the left. Yeah.
Genius. And I noticed a lot of, and guys, this is something you'll never find training elsewhere. You guys literally train like running at each other and then just running past each other. Like every technique, like whatever the finishing move is, you just keep going to the next person, to the next person. It's like real battle.
Well, I think the idea behind it was that, we always say it's a war party, not a war person, right? So it's like you come across other tribals, communities that, my history, in my family history, was we had issues with the Sioux. Sioux would always come up into our territory, pursue the buffalo. We'd challenge them, and there'd be some pretty serious conflicts that would happen. With the other nations, we were pretty good with it, but it seemed like anything that came from the Central Plains moved into the north, we had challenges with them. And so those fights were basically ballistic, fast, hard Indian fights, running Indian fights. So you're striking, hitting, and everything, to the point where my dad would say, fight like they can write a song about you. And you think about it back in the day, it was like going, these guys all wanted a song. They all wanted a hit song. So again, we have a very simple saying in the Cree, is that, one, it's easy to be brave from a distance. So you can say whatever you want, come and say it right here, and we're going to change the conversation. And the other version is, make my enemy strong, courageous, and brave, for if I defeat him, I will not be ashamed. So don't bring me a weak fight. I want this to be difficult, so that when I earn my coup feather, it's respectful. Yeah, so the idea is that the true warrior concept, and I think a lot of people forget about this now, is to respect everything, living, non-living, spirituals, cultures, animals, other human beings, but fear nothing. So we'll go through some of the weapons here, hand-to-hand weapons. So the first one that's unique is the Plains dagger. The Plains dagger is very unique. It's almost the weight of a hawk sometimes, because the blade comes up so much longer. The handle and the scales can usually be made out of something like hornbeam, even buffalo bone, or sometimes buffalo horn could be made for the scales. And these were traded well into the 1800s. Now, all the movements in Okichita, when it comes to the knife, a lot of chopping techniques, a lot of striking techniques, not so much the prescriptive movement with the thumb on the back. The only time the thumb ever goes on the back is if we're throwing the weapon to make sure that the bite is always in the same position. But it is double-edged, and it requires a bit of strength to actually move this around. things like paddling and striking. We'll show you a couple of those after. Basically, that's how this knife is used for combat. Again, if you feel the weight of that.
Yeah, it is
Like there's
way heavier than one would expect.
Yeah, and so even your throwing power with that, the kinetic energy that drives as a result of throwing that, and remember, combat distance isn't the same as you see in the movies. Combat distance is, 15 feet away, 7 feet away. You're running around, sticking it as you're running past and recovering it later. So a lot of it comes from that type of application. Long distance throw is fun for competition or seeing what you're capable of. But in reality, it's usually, I would say car length.
You know what I'll say right away when I hold this? I feel like I'm holding something. It makes you feel, if I were to go into war, right, and I had either a light knife or a knife that felt substantial like that does, you feel stronger just holding it. It's something mental about it.
I'm going to share something with you, is that there was a test known as the bear knife test. The bear knife holders were one of the most fearless warriors and individuals that you came across in Northern Plains. These were the individuals that only carried this in combat. The test that you had to pass was you were 15 to 20 feet apart, a song was played, the knife was turned around by the elder, and it was thrown at you at full force, and you had to catch it. If you did not catch it, you failed, obviously, but you had to catch it. This is a true test that was done, and there was only so many people that actually had the bravery to be able to do that test. Those were known as the bear knife carriers. Brutal. They would come in, they'd come out, and they'd walk into warfare, step off a horse, and then they go to their side, and they pull that knife out and had that bear jaw on it and everything. They just stand there, and people they're mystic. I don't want to mess with these guys. Like, that's the image and the persona and the communication that was dispersed throughout the Northern Plains at that time. You come across a bear knife carrier, your life is over. Like, that's what these guys are capable of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just picture having a knife like that. The bear knife was very similar to this, and that's what's thrown at you, after a song. And he's not going to tell you when. He's going to sing, and he's going to lift it over his head, and he just launches it at you, and you have to catch it. And, we're wearing clothes right now. We just had a breechcloth on. That's it. Hair was possibly braided, and I just stood like that to catch that knife. Brutal. And I have not done it. I don't want to do it.
No interest in doing it either.
So again, all the techniques in the knife movement. So if we're right-legged back, we want to keep that hand up near the heart. So you have to teach us in such a way that people can pick up on it. So obviously it's the X cutting is your first movement. So it's the chopping, 1, and then 2, and then across the stomach, 3, 4, and then back up, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one impales into the clavicle here, 9. And then we crank it out, pull it down, and then push in through the top again, okay? Now what's unique about this movement is turning back out, cutting up, cutting down, and throwing this into the earth. So when we throw that into the ground, it actually sticks in the ground. And then this knee gets dropped, and we retain it with the left hand. And then this cut is across the stomach, because we do end up here, right? And then if we're fatigued at this point, like I was mentioning earlier, then we use the leg to help us elevate and cut at the same time, right? And then back up and across the neck again. Head, and then impale clavicle. And then if you start from this position, that's why the handle was in this way, is that what fits nice is your webbing goes right like that, and then now you start from the spike position. Same thing. The whole process goes through again.
I love, again, how intuitive this is. The first time I did it, it felt very natural. And what I like also is that then you do the whole exact drill with a reverse grip. It covers all your movements. It's simple. You could learn it in one day. What was the reason of throwing it into the ground?
Person.
Oh, you're throwing it into the ground.
Yeah. So either you're throwing straight down to impale. So you could be running down. So one of the things is that you could be running down, and as you're passing, you just throw it down into the person. You can throw it across your body into them. And this one obviously is to just impale them while they're down on the ground.
You did something very, very cool with this today in the class you called it paddling, where you flick the incoming attack. Can you demonstrate that?
Yeah, I won't do it with this one.
No, don't do it.
This could take your hand off. So we'll show you here.
Should I grab one of those?
Yeah, I'll just grab one there. Yeah. The idea again is we use the paddling, these foams that we've cut down to, they're still big enough, but they're not like a large sword or anything. But the idea is to reflect the possible length of the knife, right? And the idea again is to strike out the side. So if I'm going this way, most guys want to sit there and they want to cut across. But there's so much weight on this type of knife. It hits so hard, eh? Wow. That when you're hitting that side of that arm, it just blasts your hand out of the way.
Yeah.
And so the cut, when it goes from that position, right, and then the grab comes in. So what you'll see in Okichita is a lot of the grabbing. I want to get that. I want to take that from you, or I want to destroy it. So if I'm going to move on you.
And I'll turn sides
Yeah.
just so your body opens up to
Yeah.
the camera.
So-
Guys, what I just want to mention, this is, and I'll show this up close, this is a very wide, flat,
Yeah.
it's almost like a paddle, like you're smacking me with
it's
a
like
paddle.
a spear with a short handle.
Yeah,
You know?
it
That's-
is.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that paddling is so interesting. Okay,
Yeah, so we'll just do a basic movement. So if I'm stepping forward with that, what you're going to do is kind of, that's right, just tap that hand out of the way. And notice how you grab right away. The trick is, you know, you never want to grab up too high. You want to get near that wrist, but enough distance that you could actually hit the hand, hit the weapon, or take the wrist off, right? So if I'm coming through, I'm pushing, block, clear, hit, right, exactly.
I actually did it on the wrong side.
Yeah, and we'll do it on this side too. So you'll see. And that pivot that you do there is to get out of the way. So if I'm impaling and I'm pushing, see, it happens so quick. So if I do it quicker, so let's go on this side, you'll see that tap when I go through. See, I'm already at that point where I'm just hacking. So I've just cleared that just a little bit, but I'm not trying to go
Yeah.
like this.
No, you're really using a
Yeah,
flick.
it's that
flick of the
snap that does that. And it's just, again, it's all this grip strength that in the plains was very, very important, not just so much for weaponry, but also for horseback riding. Is that when you're at breakneck speed hauling and you're trying to fire arrows off, you don't want to drop any of your implements. You have to retain control of your horse. You know, like I said earlier, we didn't use spurs. We used just a quirt and the movement of the body to move the horse around. So the grip strength was so important because if I drop something on the Central Plains, I'm not finding it. Not in that engagement.
Yeah.
You know, it's all sandy grass and stuff like that. It just disappears.
If I were to just see the flick, I would be like, oh, okay, I don't know if that's actually gonna feel like anything.
Yeah.
Even with this, which is a padded,
Yeah.
this is a padded
Gives you a bit of a
baton,
smoke, eh?
it actually
Yeah.
hurts, and you're hitting right on the top of the hand,
Yeah.
which is a very sensitive
Yeah, and
part.
then, you know, when you're looking at something like this,
Forget about
you know,
it.
you're flicking like that and you're retaining the guy's wrist and now you're coming in with that full chop. So you're hitting that. Now this is sharp. So you're hitting with that. So even just me doing this right now, I would totally open up that baton.
Oh yeah.
Easily. This is in Cree, we call this Notina Tone Mystic, which is known as the Gunstock War Club. Now, the Gunstock War Club is, the history on this is a reflection of a spent musket that was discharged, say, in warfare against colonial militant engagements, where the musket would be discharged. There'd be a surge of warriors that would come through, and the muskets would simply be spent around and then used as clubs. So one of the challenges was that the regular musket itself can be anywhere between 7 and 11 pounds. It's a heavy instrument, and you know, you probably got it around to swing and maybe hit once or twice, but it was devastating if you did make contact. The problem was it wasn't fast. Now the other thing too is, as Indigenous people, we didn't really get a good chance of receiving a lot of firearms. So for us to have firearms in the Central Plains and things like that, Northern Plains, was kind of unique. So the Crees, the Plains Cree, were one of the first ones to get firearms in that area. So a lot of the nations that were in that area that didn't necessarily have firearms, they would actually make the Gunstock War Club, and on horseback from a distance, when you laid it against a lance, for example, so you would have a shorter lance, and you would lay your lance against your musket like this, or not your musket, your gunstock, and you would sit on your horseback like this from a distance of 250 meters or whatever. It looked like you're armed. So your whole tribe could be armed, and not one of them is carrying a firearm. They're just the way they're carrying their instruments. So it had a visual statement as well. When you're hitting with this, your brain is telling you that I'm hitting the brakes here, right?
Yep.
But you forget about this extra 5 or 8 inches that are down below.
Yeah.
Because you're going, I'm striking here, I can understand that, but this is what's making, it's like a follow through.
Yeah.
Right?
That point right there.
Exactly. So when
Bam.
it hits. So also if you invert it, you actually have the deflection here, so you can deflect upwards, come down with the spike. You can crush the collarbones, you can paddle across to clear and impale. So all that reverse movement can all be done with that.
Can I can you show me if I attack you with something?
Yep.
How it would work? Would this be a good
Well,
weapon?
I'll use a trainer.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah, this is the real one. We
not
don't wanna-
impaling me with the.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, with the gunstock, you can far reach it. Unlike other weapons that hold back, where basically you'll block at this position, the gunstock can clear you totally. So if you're striking towards the head, I clear high, really high.
Oh yeah.
Like I clear really high with this weapon. So it doesn't matter what's coming down because it's going to push everything out of the way. And again, we're doing this just stationary. So your timing, as we're moving in, I have to be up this, and I just come right down from this position. You can already see
Yeah.
how much power that is. So the idea is to always push up. and to feint. There was stuff that we do that. So coming up to you like this, I'm not going to show you my height. I'm going to start running like this to you. So now you want to chop lower.
Oh, yeah.
So then I burst up like this and just drag that down. Or if I don't get past you, you just turn the gunstock, you throttle it, and that nice blade just drags right across the throat.
Oh, yeah. What you guys might not see is that there is, I mean, I'm sure you saw it, and we'll show it even more clear. This is like what he's attacking with a lot of the time. It's super sneaky, and it's just such an odd weapon. I've never seen something quite like it, but it's so multi-purpose.
And that's exactly it. And also, you know, being just on horseback, driving by and striking with it, or hitting another warrior off the horse, it was very, very effective that way. The lance couldn't do that. The lance was kind of like rubbery when it came on a horseback, but the gunstock had the distance. So they're all designed with a hoof on the back like that. So the idea is to grab it, and you have your full length, and you can knock hard as you want on that. So I'll show you a couple paddling.
Okay.
So let's make you do it with the real one, so you're more careful.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, hands are just like a baseball bat. And what we call paddling is that when you strike the side of the head, the gunstock needs to roll over the top. So I want you to imagine that you're running at full speed in this direction. And when you go to strike that in that position, if you left it there, guess what's coming back to bite you?
Yeah, that piece.
Right. So when you go to hit, it's going to bounce back and hit you. So the idea is paddling allows you, when you come in, you strike and you roll your elbows. Exactly. So it goes right over. So when it hits the head, it paddles over, and then you can actually rotate to hit with the spine if you want to. So as you hit with that, roll over, roll over.
Oh, roll over, yeah.
Now spin and hit me that.
Yeah.
So that's the rotation. So the idea...
That's just crazy. So I'm going here, I'm turning it, and then I'm whipping back
and you're running
in.
past me as you're doing it.
Yeah, I keep going.
Yeah. So the idea, again, is that movement of the acceleration.
Just like a tornado of fury. Whatever is in its path, it's trying to destroy.
The thing is that although we have the movements that are crossing, so for example, when we're doing this movement, where we were showing you earlier, the X's, right? 1, 2, and then across the body, 3, okay, 4. Well, we do the drag back too, right? So when you're sitting there and you're going like across, you leave that spike out and just hit the side, because that hits in this area.
And it'll just lodge right into
it just hits that area, right?
So you're clubbing me, and then you're impaling me.
And then some of the unique grabs is you'll go from here because the blade's in, and you rotate the blade that way to hit the top.
Oh, and you turned it completely.
Yeah.
So it got stuck. That's cool.
Yeah. There you go. Bam.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. Very effective. So it's very multi-purpose, and the more you train with it, the better you get with it. If you had to fight with limited experience, or this was your first engagement, you're always going to use your longest weapon. And also, if I'm learning warfare, I'm going to technically go after the individual that is less experienced, unless I really want to have the concept of a death wish, right? Or really to be able to count coup against a significant player. Now, we could identify who those individuals were on the plains as a result of the feathers they carried. So this is unique in the plains as well, is that I could look at a series of feathers and know what that warrior was capable of, almost like medals on a soldier, knowing the campaigns that they've been on. We had the same thing with coup feathers. So when you see these long war bonnets and almost a trail, guy's got 72 feathers, he's had 72. Okay, like that's a significant guy. I'm not going after that guy, and those 7 guys around him are protecting him. And I got to go through those guys to get to that guy. So that'd be pretty hard to do. So to give you an idea of
That's very cool.
So if we're going to do that, so we'll use a lance as your initial weapon. And then if I had all my weaponry, obviously it's going to be my tomahawk in my right hand and my knife in my left, because I want to be like a lawnmower dealing with you, okay? So the idea is the longest movement on the lance is the one that I was showing you earlier, where you're holding the end and you're pushing your body out as far as you can to reach me. So you're looking at that distance, it's far.
Yeah, I can reach you. I'll probably be off camera. But I can reach you even way further.
And you're pushing that well outside.
Reach
you're pushing that well outside of me, right? So this is where number 1 of one step comes from, right? Is this movement. So the idea is that if you go with your right leg back, okay, hold near the end of your lance and push straight out, step, shove it, okay? So now see how far that out. So number 1 for me is to redirect that lance, okay? To impale with the knife. And the way we move is this position because of the breastplates we used to wear, which were the pipe bone that were on the side. Sometimes it was on the side. When the blade went sideways, it went through the breastplate, but also went into the ribs. okay? And then we could finish up by kicking the leg or finishing out with the thing. Again, it's that movement where we're running, right? And you go push that lance out, and I clear it, and then inside, and then kick that leg out, and then we continue on. Or we can drag the hawk. We can do that as well.
Because that's right in my face.
Yeah, so if I do, I'll just get you to do it just once, and then I'll show you how the hand resorts to that.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go back with the lance, we'll do a short version of it. We don't have to do a super long one. So 1, 2, and then 3, okay? This makes sense, right? So now we put that down. Now we go to our hand movements. Look how much tighter we are. But my body position's the same way as if I had that hawk, right? So now you throw, I crush it and clear. There's that strike to the ribs, and then we kick the leg out. Or, again, you're crossing, right? You're doing a cross.
Yeah.
In the fighting concept of Okichita, it's a committed strike. It always is.
So I'm running at
Yes,
you.
yeah. So again, it's like we're not worried about the guy to do the cross because we can grab him and wrestle if we had
Yes.
to. But the guy that is coming in full force, yeah, we're meeting that, grinding it. So sometimes we'll grind, and then we'll come with that strike and then kick the leg out.
Can we show it on this side?
Yeah, so you do it to me now, right?
Okay.
So I'll do one to you. Okay, so go ahead to punch.
Okay.
So there's your clear, crush, and then take that leg out.
You look like you're generating a lot of power
Yeah,
on that,
because
that kidney strike.
Yeah, and also because of the kick. So when you go from here, you're doing this. Bang.
Oh, the strike is following the kick.
Yeah, or both. Depends if you're off balance.
So it's just, and so is that a consistent theme in this, by the way, that the empty hand comes from the weapons?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And once they go flying, so if I lost one weapon, like if I lost the tomahawk in something else, I just have the hand. I'm going to smash the lance out, and I'm just going to stick the knife in. If I just have the tomahawk and not the knife, I'm going to clear with the tomahawk, and then I'm going to punch you.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But it's not like we don't punch in your traditional style. It's always like a hammer punch.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you're holding a weapon.
Yeah, like you're holding a weapon, yeah. And so, for example, another version of it is, and what we do is with the lance is as you get more confident with a weapon, you become more intimate with it, and you become more intimate in combat. So you start with that long extension at first, and now you get cocky. I can hold it closer.
And
We're getting closer and closer. So what starts happening, the tactic changes. So for example, one of the other movements, like I won't do 2, but number 3 is where you're moving forward with the lance again, but now you're not holding the lance in this position, you're holding it here. Because now you have the confidence of working with the lance, right? So your direction of clearing, so we'll go from that side, it's the same thing, but now I just have a tomahawk. So now I'm grinding and I'm sliding this across the arm and then lifting up and then just chopping.
And how would that, okay, so how would that look empty hand?
So same thing, we clear again, we grind like this, and then we destroy your arm by hitting with this.
Oh, nice. So you do limb destruction.
Just real fast, yeah.
You know what's super fascinating about this? And you pretty much said it. It doesn't matter whether you're holding the tomahawk, holding the knife, or don't have a weapon. The movements your body does are the same.
Yeah.
Which was, again, something you touched on very early. In warfare, you're going to rely on gross motor skills. And you're relying on these bigger movements, which, from like, you look at modern day martial arts, everything has to get tight.
Yeah.
You look at what happens to people on a battlefield or what happens to people under real stress, things don't stay tight.
Oh yeah, everything changes. That's why those basic skills come out. If we do the very prescriptive movements, that ain't gonna work, right? But if I grab that and kind of hit it, like it just makes more sense to me.
It's natural, just smash.
Yeah, and just by your movement like that, the finishing out that we talk about is, we go across and all of a sudden we have that hawk and we hit you with that hawk and then we yank you to the ground. When we're hand to hand, we still grab.
Yeah, you just grab my...
So if you're, I'm going this and I'm taking this out, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to hit, and I'm just going to yank you straight down. And, we're all kids at one time, and we've all been in the playground when someone's pulled us from the back. And, it hurts when you're like 12 years old, but at this age, I mean, it really, really hurts.
On concrete, especially
and
nowadays.
so those pull downs, those are our finish out techniques, right?
Yeah, I mean, even when we were doing the knife stuff, this is like my first time here, you had me going, I've done jiu-jitsu my whole life, guys. I'm a black belt, and you had me with someone on my back, and I'm holding a knife, and they're trying to get the knife. And
preventing them from getting stabbed by you. But also, they're winning the fight now because they're on top of you. And I want you to just remember that that's next to a riverbed. You're in your face. You're spitting sand out of your mouth, and there's friggin' shit all over the place, and you're fighting for your life.
Yeah.
And now it's like every time I push my hands in, they sink. I can't get out of this. But you don't dare let go of that knife, right?
And it felt very reality-based, even for our time period now,
yeah.
that if someone was holding, and you made me, it's like a live drill. It's like lights. It's kind of like a variation of sparring because it's such a weird context of how it starts, but it is positional sparring with a knife on the ground.
Yeah.
You don't do that in jiu-jitsu.
Uncle Vern used to say to me that you have to embrace danger to prevail. And that's a good system of it, because the idea is, you know, you're laying on your face, you have to bring your knife close to your head, and then turn your body and push it underneath, and then you prevail to impale, right?
Yeah, and even just the slight adjustments that you figure out along the way. Like I didn't have to, at first, because of jiu-jitsu, I was trying to get to a turtle, which is like, you know, like this. I was trying to go from being flat to being here, where I feel a little bit safer. I'm holding a knife though, and because of the position you start in, it's very hard because they're but I just realized, okay, I just got to get just this height and I can jam the knife through. Now the knife is safe for the turn. It was really...
Yeah, again, and you're using our mother, you know, our Mother Earth to help you prevail, to win, right? Yeah. And so that individual that's on your back that's doing that, they're not thinking the same way. You're going to use your mother to help you win.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's those types of applications. And we have a lot of drills like that. You know, there's old teachings that I learned from the old ones, some history, cross-referencing stuff that may have been written down or spoken to another elder, and they said, oh yeah, but it was done this way, and you refine a little bit. So the fall and reed test, where you would lay in the water, and there'd be one warrior that would risk their life to watch the enemy war party go through, and all the other warriors are underwater right now with a reed. And then once that's done, he would just simply walk over, tap that. And you don't come out of the water, like, you don't come out of the water the same way.
Nice and slow.
Nice and slow. And then you know that because he tapped the water, they're gone now.
Haven't seen before, so. I was really excited for today because I had done a video on you. And then to come in and do it, it's like, it's much more in-depth. It's much more interesting. So I really appreciate that. Hope you guys liked it. Is there anything you want to share with anyone? Or?
No, just, you know, again, it's, you know, hit the nail on the head, share. It's what's so important, and I think the more that we can share about culture and understanding will also alleviate a lot of the violence in the world, and I think it's really, really important. And, you know, remember, my uncles always say this, even though that they moved on, we're still here. Yeah, the Indigenous people are still here. Yeah, so thank you so much, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.